All right, what's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome to today's stream. Of course, my name is Brian Lewis. Glad everybody's here. What's up, Peter? What's up, Tony? What's up, MDJG? What is up, Iceman X? And who else do we have here? We have Lorianne. We have Nan59 or Non59. We have Liu Kang. We have ET Facts. Before we get started, I'm going to post this onto Twitter. Give me one moment, like I did Friday.
Hey everyone, happy Monday. Great to have everyone back. I'm going to keep tabs on Twitch like we've been making a habit of. I see Andy in the chat room, Andy from Ohio, and a whole bunch of other users viewing, so thanks for tuning in, everyone. See, Andy, you didn't give me a chance. You didn't give me a chance.
All right, what's good, everybody? So yeah, so today I hope everybody is having a nice chill. I'm on the East Coast, so it's a nice chill, dark, wet Monday evening now at this point, just about. So I hope everybody is good. I hope everybody's weekend was lovely. I hope you guys got out the house, or maybe not because of everything that's going on with COVID-19. So it might be good that you stay in the house until further notice, right? But today I wanted to talk about a couple things. And then there's a minor, well, no, it's not a minor story. It's actually a trending topic right now, but I'm saving that for the end. But the primary topic of today is I wanted to cover Rand Paul and Rudy Giuliani as the main topics of discussion today. Both were involved in the big lie, okay? One is still perpetuating it, and the other is being hit legally for pushing it. Like Rand Paul, for instance, who appeared yesterday on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos to discuss, among other things, why he can't accept the fact that the election was not stolen. Okay, so before we get started with the material, let's just admit that there's nothing for Rand Paul to gain politically from this anymore, or the Republicans in general. The election is over and Biden is president of the United States, and that's not changing. Okay, so pushing this baseless big lie conspiracy theory isn't going to accomplish anything tangible for them. Okay, so then the question becomes, why do it? What is this whole all about? What's the end game? Is it ego? Okay, is it pride? Is it just rank stupidity? Or is it a combination of all of those things? Or is the agenda more insidious than that? And then I also wonder this question as well. Why are these people being given platforms to continue to spread the big lie? That just makes no sense to me. So before I show you guys the video, here is my premise. And I started this on Friday, and I think I'm going to continue it going forward with these live streams so that you kind of get an idea of what the gist of the entire stream is, right? So Republicans in this country, check this out, hear me out. Republicans in this country, especially in Congress, or those just with influence in general, like Rudy Giuliani, who do not acknowledge that the election is over and wasn't stolen, are a bigger threat to American democracy than any extremist abroad. That sounds crazy, right? But here's my rationale. Rand Paul and Rudy Giuliani are examples of Republicans who are engaging in this big lie about the election, as I already said. So meaning Rand Paul, Rudy Giuliani, Josh Hawley, all of these characters and others like them will do more long-term damage, okay, to this country than any group abroad could ever hope to do, for the simple fact that they have power in like internal domestic power in this country, the ability to influence laws and influence people's lives, right? They have more power than those groups will ever have. So what David is going to do is he's going to play the first clip. This entire video is not that long, but when I was going through the video, I decided to like split it up into two parts so that there's not too much stopping and starting. So this first clip is about 3 minutes. I'll be back to share my thoughts and get some of your opinions, and then we will be back, if you will. So go ahead, David, whenever you're ready.
Let me begin with a
threshold question for you.
Hold on one second. The volume's a little low.
Not stolen. Do you accept that fact?
Well, what I would say is that the debate over whether or not there was fraud should occur. We never had any presentation in court where we actually looked at the evidence. Most of the cases were thrown out for lack of standing, which is a procedural way of not actually hearing the question. There were several states in which the law was changed by the Secretary of State and not the state legislature. To me, those are clearly unconstitutional. And I think there's still a chance that those actually do finally work their way up to the Supreme Court. Courts traditionally and historically don't like to hear election questions. But yes, were there people who voted twice? Were there dead people who voted? Were there illegal aliens who voted? Yes, and we should get to the bottom of it. I'll give you an example. In my state, when we had a Democrat Secretary of State, she refused, even under federal order, to purge the rolls of illegal voters. We got a Republican Secretary of State, and he purged the rolls.
Senator Paul, I have to stop you there. No election is perfect, but there were 86 challenges filed by President Trump and his allies in court. All were dismissed. Every state certified the results after investigations, counts, and recounts. The Department of Justice, led by William Barr, said there's no widespread evidence of fraud. Can't you just say the words, this election was not stolen?
What I would suggest is that if we want greater confidence in our elections, and 75% of Republicans agree with me, is that we do need to look at election integrity, and we do need to see if we can restore confidence in the elections.
Well, 75% of Republicans agree with you because they were fed a big lie by President Trump and his supporters who say the election was stolen. Why can't you say?
Well, I think where you make a mistake, hey George, where you make a mistake is that people coming from the liberal side like you immediately say everything's a lie instead of saying there are two sides to everything. Historically, what would happen is if I said that I thought there was fraud, you would interview someone else who said there wasn't. But now you insert yourself in the middle and say the absolute fact is that everything I'm saying is a lie.
Well, Senator, I said what the president said was a lie because he said, hold on a second. He said the election was stolen. This election was not stolen. The results were certified in every single state after counts and recounts.
You're saying that absolutely it was. You're saying there was no fraud and it's all been investigated. That's just not true.
It's not what I said, sir. I said the Department of Justice found no evidence. Let me finish my point.
You said something
was not true.
You say we're all liars. You're just simply saying we're all liars.
I said it was a lie that the election was stolen.
Premise that you're right and we're wrong. Well, let's talk about the specifics of it. In Wisconsin, tens of thousands of absentee votes had only the name on them and no address. Historically, those were thrown out. This time they weren't. They made special accommodations because they said, oh, it's a pandemic and people forgot what their address was. So they changed the law after the fact. That is wrong. That's unconstitutional. And I plan on spending the next 2 years going around state to state and fixing these problems. And I won't be cowed by liberals in the media who say, there's no evidence here. You're a liar if you talk about election fraud. No, let's have an open debate. It's a free country.
So we're back to alternative facts, it sounds like.
We are apparently back to alternative facts, but George Stephanopoulos didn't say it, so I'm going to say it, even though I'm not interviewing Rand Paul, obviously. Rand Paul is a damn liar, okay? Something else. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it's a different side to the story. This is the same logic that people like this use to deny the rights of Black people or any other person when we are or anybody is unjustly killed. When you see on camera exactly what happened, they tell you not to believe your lying eyes. So that's patently ridiculous, right? So this is something that I wanted to show you guys because this is not ending the way that we thought it would. CBC Legend says Boogaloo Jimmy's. That I think that's in reference to something else. Yeah, somebody sees what's trending on Twitter right now. That's also alternative facts if we're being honest. But Peter S says Rand Paul is a charter member of the Public Hair Club for Men. Let's see, and then Pranay says, investigate Rand Paul. Alicia says, hey, Brian and David. Hey, what's up, Alicia? And then Afraid Not and Ratchet says he just plays a doc on TV. So this is just crazy. Go ahead, David.
Afraid Not in Ratchet before that said his hair is a fraud.
Pretty much, yeah.
That one got me. Just trying to see if we got anything on Twitch. Oh, no. Okay, so a couple people saw it earlier as well, and so this was just a review. I just, why give them airtime anymore, you know?
Exactly. And that's what I brought up at first. I don't even know what the purpose, and of course, this isn't the entire segment, right? But I don't even know what the purpose of asking someone like this, asking him this question, because you know what the answer is going to be. It's the same thing that they always say. And it's just mind-boggling to me that even after Trump has lost and he's out of office and there's nothing to gain from this politically anymore, they're still at it. Mark Smith says, "Hey, Brian, just got over from watching Ben on TYT and now ready to learn more from you and my fellow Trap Squad." Hey, I'm glad you're here, Mark. So whenever you are ready, David, skip ahead to the 4-minute mark, and then you can play out like the rest of it, like because it's only like a 6-minute video.
Gotcha. Give me 1 second. I didn't realize we were playing the rest. Hold on 1 minute. You said the 4-minute mark?
Yeah, the 4-minute mark.
I'm not willing just to sit here and say, oh, everybody on the Republican side is a liar and there is no fraud. No, there were lots of problems, and there were secretaries of state who illegally changed the law, and that needs to be fixed. And I'm going to work hard to fix it. And I won't be cowed by people saying, oh, you're a liar. That's the problem with the media today, is they say all Republicans are liars and everything we say is a lie. There are two sides to every story. Interview somebody on the other side, but don't insert yourself into the story to say we're all liars because we have some fraud. There are not
two sides of the story. This has been looked at in every single state.
Oh, sure there are. There are two sides to every story, George. You're forgetting who you are. You're forgetting who you are as a journalist. If you think there's only one side, you're inserting yourself into the story to say, I'm a liar because I want to look at election fraud and I want to look at secretaries of state who illegally changed the voter laws without the permission of their state legislatures. That is incontrovertible. It happened. And you can't just sweep that under the rug and say, oh, nothing to see here, and everybody's a liar and you're a fool if you bring this up. You're inserting yourself into the story. A journalist would hear both sides, and there are two sides to this story.
I'm standing by facts. There are not two sides to facts. I did not say that this was a perfect election. I said it was, the results were certified. I said it was not stolen.
You're saying people are liars. You're saying people are liars if they want to investigate what happened in the election. Shouldn't
That's not what I said.
The fact that tens of thousands of absentee ballots did not have addresses on them and normally were disqualified, but this time they were counted. Should we examine that? I don't know whether it affected the election or not, but I have an open mind. And if we actually examine this, we find out it didn't, that's fine, but it still should be fixed.
There can be more investigations. The investigations that have taken place have shown there is not enough fraud to change the results of this election. That has been certified by every state. It was stated by the Justice Department and the Attorney General.
And I accepted the state certifications, but it doesn't mean that I think that there wasn't fraud and that there weren't problems that have to be investigated. And it doesn't mean that the law wasn't broken. I believe in Pennsylvania, they broke the law. And I believe if that ever would get a real hearing in the Supreme Court, it was denied for standing. It wasn't actually taken up. If it were taken up, I do believe that the Supreme Court would overrule and say that they did break the law illegally.
I asked you a very simple question. Was the election stolen or not?
Yes or no?
Great deal of evidence of fraud and changing of the election laws illegally, and I think a thorough investigation is warranted.
Senator Paul, thanks for your time this morning.
That is so ridiculous. Go ahead.
I'm sorry that I laughed in the middle of it. I hope it didn't get in the way of people hearing it. I just couldn't hold my composure anymore. I'll only say this and then I'll give it back. It's your stream, but I used to have a little bit of like, oh, okay, so Rand Paul is useful. He's a useful idiot, but he's useful, when it comes to like privacy rights and spying and what. This just obliterates all that, because now you're just doing harm to the public when you're spreading, when you're sticking by this nonsense and continuing to spew it. It's just toxic.
And it's intentional. And then he attacks the media because the media is exposing Republican BS on this particular issue. The media's job is to do, and I criticize the corporate media all the time, especially if you follow me on Twitter. I have no love for like the corporate media, but at the same time, the way they've handled this particular story in the case of this election and what they're doing when challenging these Republicans when they do come on is what they should be doing. The only thing is that, in my opinion, they're not going far enough. Rand Paul and people like him are liars, and they're getting on television and they're arguing in bad faith. Even if we give Rand Paul and people like him a small little margin where we say, okay, just for the sake of arguing, just for this, the sake of this conversation, let's just say a handful of votes were counted that shouldn't be counted. There's a difference between that, saying that happened, and then saying that happened on a large enough scale across multiple states to actually influence the outcome of the election. Because that's what Rand Paul is actually implying here. He's not saying that, hey, there were a few hundred votes that were counted that shouldn't have been counted. He's implying that there was an actual major conspiracy involving Republicans even, okay, to thwart the election in favor of Joe Biden. And there's absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever. So, and then he says he doesn't know if it impacted the election or not. Yes, we do know it did not impact the election. So this is just pure myth making, right? And then let's see. Tyler says corporate media sucks, but honestly, they should be challenging Republicans harder. Yep, that's exactly what I just said. And then Nicole says the more Republicans push their false narratives, the fatter their pockets become. Yeah, I mean it's more than likely there is a financial incentive involved here for sure. And then Pranay says without voter suppression there would be no Patriot Act. Fuck F. Ron Paul, the neo-Confederate clown. Hey, I'm with you on that for sure. David, is anybody on Twitch?
Andy from Ohio said, knowing what standard means, she has to catch herself from yelling at her phone watching the video. Milton Nastimento said, Trump was never a departure from the Republican Party. That's why they're all still talking that who shot John.
Yeah. And I mean, before I continue to bring it back to the premise for today's stream, right? I said that people like this, people like Rand Paul, and of course we know he's not the only one. He's just the topic of discussion today, right? But there's a whole group of them, as we all know, that they are doing more damage to this country politically and internally than any foreign group could ever hope to do. And stuff like this seems like it is insignificant, right? But when we saw what just happened at the U.S. Capitol, we know how far it can go if it gets out of control. And what's crazy to me is they don't really seem to care about that at all, right? So politicians like Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, all of them, they don't care. They don't care about voter purges, okay, or the mass closure of polling stations in Black and brown areas. They don't care about illegitimate pseudo-democratic schemes like interstate cross-check, right? Look up Greg Palast if you want to know what that was about. Those are all like legitimate conversations about voter suppression. You all know, notice they're not using that term. They're not using voter suppression. They're not actually saying that. Rand Paul is talking about election fraud. Now, you have two different types. You have voter fraud, which implies that the voter themselves is the one at fault, or the voter himself or herself is at fault. And then you have election fraud or electoral fraud. That implies that it was something that the United States government was behind that was fraudulent. So when he's saying election fraud, he's implying, or he thinks that there was this massive nationwide conspiracy among, he mentioned secretaries of state. Okay, some of them, like I said, we already know are Trump voting Republicans. So he's implying that even Republicans are involved in this grand conspiracy, okay, to rig the election against Donald Trump in favor of Joe Biden. So not only is it a nationwide conspiracy, a nationwide multi-state conspiracy involving Democrats and Republicans, okay, but he thinks that this is something that is actually provable. And I don't even think that he cares about that, to be honest with you. I think maybe this is a question I should pose to the audience, because I was actually even thinking about this before the stream started, because I was like, what is the point to all of this? Like, I could almost understand, and it made political sense, weird political sense, but political sense nonetheless, before the election, in terms of why they were doing this, because they thought it would help them out politically before the election. After the election, you could say, okay, well, maybe they're doing this because they're trying to gin up like civil war, and you had all this talks of civil war, and it led to what happened at the U.S. Capitol, right? But even that moment of time has passed. Joe Biden has been sworn into office. The next election that people are even going to be paying attention to won't be until 2022. The next presidential election isn't until 2024. So what do you guys think the point is? Like, me personally, I think this is absolutely bonkers. Like, I think that, before I continue, I did catch this. Lauren Sherman, it doesn't look like she left a comment, but thank you for that super chat. I wanted to mention that before it disappeared. But yeah, like, this is crazy. Let's see. Somebody said fundraising. Let me scroll back up. Galactic Soldier said, or no, I said soldier. Galactic Scholar. I'm sure you like that ending too, by the way. But he says it is fundraising. It's for fundraising. Yeah, but I mean, like, it has to be. It just has to be something else other than that. And then Galactic Scholar also said the cons Republicans, I'm assuming, are raising money hand over foot off these rubes. So yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. Jamil Salami says there is never an end game, it's just an endless grift. I can definitely see that as well. Nebulous Void says Republicans had despotic control of the country in the election. They've been campaigning for 4 years. The election happened on their watch. Why are they blaming anyone but themselves? That would be the logical thing to do. But clearly we have a lot of people in power in this country, like Rand Paul, who are not all that logical. And then if you have someone else on Twitch, David, or maybe not.
No, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Not a ton of stuff in Twitch right now, but I'll get back to you when I see some highlighted stuff.
Okay, perfect. So I guess now we can transition to the Rudy Giuliani story. Now, this is going to be short. I don't have a ton to say about this, but I'm gonna wait for David to pull it up, and he can drop the link in the chat for you guys if you want to read it. All right, perfect. Let me minimize this really quick. All right, so the title of the article is, of course, this is from HuffPost. Dominion voting system sues Rudy Giuliani for defamation, seeks $1.3 billion. So Donald Trump's this is a subtitle. Donald Trump's personal attorney spread the big lie of a stolen election to millions of people. The voting machine company alleges, in a lawsuit. So this ties into the previous video, because we all know Rudy Giuliani was out there. He was honestly more public about the big lie than Rand Paul was. So he has a bigger role to play than Paul even does, even though Paul technically has more power as a legislator. But the Dominion Voting Systems on Monday filed a lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani, alleging former President Donald Trump's personal attorney defamed the voting software company with incessant lies about election fraud. The 107-page lawsuit, first reported by the New York Times, was filed in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia and accuses Giuliani of having, quote, manufactured and disseminated, end quote, false claims that Dominion voting machines threw out or changed votes for Trump. So that's what they're going after him for. This, quote, big lie of a stolen election deceived millions of people into believing Dominion had stolen their votes and fixed the election, end quote, the lawsuit alleged. Giuliani, quote, cashed in, and boy, did he, on those defamatory claims by reportedly seeking $20,000 a day from the Trump campaign and hosting a podcast where he repeatedly peddled the lies the lawsuit contended. And then the last 3 paragraphs here says, even after the United States Capitol had been stormed by rioters who had been deceived by Giuliani and his allies, Giuliani shirked responsibility for the consequences of his words and repeated the big lie the lawsuit stated. Dominion, headquartered in Denver and Toronto, is seeking $1.3 billion in damages. Giuliani did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Of course he didn't. And there's a tweet here from someone on Twitter who has a picture of the lawsuit that was filed. And of course, the article also mentions that Dominion is also suing Sidney Powell for $1.3 billion as well. So this isn't a small amount of money, right? And of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to speak on the legality of what they are claiming, but I would say that they have a significant case because everything that Giuliani did and said is public. It's part of the public record. And it's insane to me that he asked for $20,000 a day, not a week, not a month. He asked for $20,000 a day. And I am assuming someone within the Trump campaign agreed to this. So as people in the comments section were mentioning about, why the big lie is still being pushed, yeah, there is apparently a lot of money to be made by being a lying grifter in this country, right? Including Rudy Giuliani. So I, hope that he is held accountable for sure. Now, as far as Dominion itself is concerned, I don't know too much about the company. My only issue with voting machines is that I wish nationwide, they should have a paper trail. Other than that, I don't know too much about the company or their history itself. I just know that Giuliani is in big trouble right now. So tying this into the earlier video and the topic of discussion today, do you see what all of this is actually doing? Like these aren't minor things. This is something that actually has consequences, right? So, that's all I really wanted to say about that story. I mean, it was breaking earlier. So yeah, Rudy Giuliani is being sued, and you would think that this would stop people like this in the future, but it's not, because something tells me that he's gonna get away from paying the vast majority of this.
Well, and just keep in mind, as far as his payday, is that based on what we know, he's not getting paid anymore. He did he made a huge sum up until the point that Trump decided he wasn't being helpful anymore. But
right,
he's not getting paid now.
right, yeah, of course, yeah, definitely. And then Pranay not on Twitter, on YouTube says, I think Trump ripped him off. Hey, we'll probably never know, but that would be hilarious if that's the case. And it would be very Trumpian. That's what you would expect Trump to do. You would expect Trump to stiff Giuliani. You're like, oh yeah, Giuliani, I'll pay you $20,000. And then as soon as Giuliani walks out, yes, sucker. So we'll have to see what happens. But Pixie on the Moon says chat is killing me tonight. Yeah, the chat is absolutely hilarious. And then Miss V Jackson says everything and everyone Trump comes in contact with dies. Giuliani should know that by now. And then Harmon Span says, did Rudy get paid from Trump? I mean, we're to believe that he did. I mean, until I haven't seen anything that says otherwise. Let's see.
The scholar said this is undermining the foundation of our democracy, which is a theme, right? We covered two different separate, related but separate stories, and they're both, going back to Rand Paul. It's the same thing, continuing to spread something that's proven false does the same exact thing.
Exactly. So to bring a conclusion to these two stories, here's my solution. If Republicans care so much about election integrity as they claim to, okay, which they don't, we already know that. So I'm just putting that out there ahead of time. They don't. But Mitch McConnell blocked legislation from the House for months that would have protected our elections, right? So we know they don't actually care. But if, just for the sake of discussion, if they cared so much about election integrity as Rand Paul claims, okay, so they are going to support HR 1, right? That's what I'm being led to believe, right? If they actually think all of these election fraud conspiracies actually happen, if they actually believe what they're saying, then they should be the first ones in line supporting something like the For the People Act or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They should be the primary supporters of it. If they actually believe, if they actually what's the wording I'm looking for here? If they're not full of crap, let me just say it like that without going on a profanity-laced tirade. If they aren't full of crap, then passing major voting rights legislation should be a foregone conclusion. And that is what I mentioned in the last live stream about a new Reconstruction, which I think that should be a component of it. But what are you guys' thoughts here? F Google says absolutely. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think the chats. Nebulous Void says, can they pay him for campaign funds legally? I'm not sure. That's a good question. Galactic Scholar says the Republican Party came into contact with Trump. Now it's dying. I mean, that's tied into this as well. Like in their attempt to, what I truly believe is to actually hurt American democracy. I don't think they actually support American democracy anymore. In their attempt to actually throw out the election or change the outcome of the election, it's effectively destroyed the legitimacy of their entire party. So I agree with that. Let's see, what else do we have?
On Twitch, Dismayic said maybe they will start to care about election integrity moving forward. We've been screaming about voter suppression for years now. It would be awesome to get them on board too. Wonder how long before they realize before they realize gerrymandering is a thing.
Exactly. That's how you know. And I'm not even going to waste time, and I don't even think anybody should waste time expecting this. We already know that. I don't even think they believe what they're saying. I really do think it's about money. I think it's a grift. Okay. And I think that there is a faction of the Republican Party that is actually fascist. I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. Okay. You can't, at some point in time, you have to take what people are saying. You have to take their words literally. Like the saying goes, if it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a damn duck. They're acting like fascists. Okay, they're behaving like fascists. They are doing fascist things. Like if you actually look up Naomi Klein's work and some other people who have actually done a lot of research on this, America, and this was like years ago during the Bush administration. America, like if you go down point by point by point, meets all of the standards for being, a fairly fascist society. So, I think that is the larger underlying problem with all of this. So there's one last thing that I wanted to cover. So we haven't been talking for too long, and this is something that is currently trending right now. Of course, I know somebody mentioned it when we first went live about Harriet Tubman being on the $20 bill. Do you have that article, David?
Yep, it's on screen now.
Oh, I didn't have. Hold on. Okay, perfect. Yep. Let's see. Bear with me one moment here. Yeah. All right. Perfect. So Biden administration will look to expedite getting Tubman on the $20 bill. I'm not going to necessarily read the article because it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a video on the article from thehill.com where the Treasury Department, it says the Treasury Department is working to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said at a White House briefing. And my opinions on this are mixed. Okay. There are pros and cons to everything. I don't know. Ooh, my mic looked like it was muting for a second. Anyway, I don't know how many former colonial states actually have any black person within their society on their money. I don't, and I say that like, Jen, I really don't know. And I didn't spend time looking it up, right? It wouldn't surprise me if the answer were zero. So from a weird historical perspective, it means something. But here's the con, and I think in this particular case, the con outweighs the pros. This is not actually helping anybody. This is cosmetic. This is a symbolic gesture. Many people have been saying, hey, why don't you put Harriet Tubman on the $2,000 check? This is something that would have been groundbreaking like a generation ago, right? Like back when people were a little bit more taken in by the first this, the first that, this I think would have gone a long way. People are a lot more pessimistic nowadays, and people aren't as moved by symbolism anymore, right? Especially not like someone like Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was an enslaved American. Like she was a victim of American capitalism. This is an argument you've seen people make on social media. So it's very strange to have someone who was sold for dollars, okay, at one point in time in her life, be now the face of American capitalism. It's just weird. And I mean, is it a bad thing that Andrew Jackson's like genocidal slave owning ass isn't on the $20 bill or won't be on the $20 bill, at least in the future? Okay, whatever. That's okay. I'd rather have Harriet Tubman than him, but at the same time, I'd rather people in this country get those 20s as opposed to changing the face of the $20 bill. So that's just my perspective. I don't think it's something people are really going to care about. It's going to be something that people get the $20 bill and they say, oh wow, that's interesting. And then they give that $20 to the cashier and they don't have the $20 no more. And they're not getting paid for another 2 weeks. That's what's going to happen. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know it's trending. It's still actually the number 1 or the number 2 trend on Twitter right now. So yeah, I wanted to definitely make sure I didn't forget about that. Afraid Not and Ratchet said, Deep Brian, thank you for that. Pizzled Milk, that's a hilarious name, said, how about we do that after reparations? Exactly. Kai Porter says they can keep the $20 bill and give us reparations. One, I definitely agree with that. Galactic Scholar said, why not both? Both is good. We can do both easily. Well, that's kind of what I was saying. Like it's weird, but I would rather people have the money. This kind of comes off to me like, hey, America is being criticized and ridiculed a lot internationally because of race and our problems with race relations. So let's do something that is going to appear as if we're turning the page. That's how this reads to me. And I don't really trust it like that. And of course, we knew this is something that Obama, I don't know if Obama per se, but this was something that was pushed at the end of his administration that, of course, Trump, axed. So that didn't happen. But yeah, let's see. Alicia says pay reparations and $20 bills with Tubman on them. That's hilarious. And she says, JK. So I think everybody's kind of in agreement on this. What about on Twitch?
There was a little bit of breaking news, so I'm going to bring that up in a second. Looking at Twitch real quick. Let's see. Andy from Ohio said, "I can't wait to hear about Harriet." I think this was before we actually discussed it or you broke it down, but she said people don't usually know this, but Harriet Tubman is a disabled icon. She deserves only great things in and for her name. Desmaic said, "I would love to see her replace Andrew Jackson's racist ass, $. And Desmaic also said, "Empty optics in a cynical age," which is to your point, Brian, that it doesn't, it's not, it is symbolism. And I mean, it's not necessarily, it's not a bad thing, but it doesn't do a whole lot. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's symbolism. To the extent that you can have positive symbolism. I guess if we were to say something positive in regards to it, like I said, I'd rather she be on it than Andrew Jackson or any of those figures, right? But it's just not, it's not moving. Like it's not something that people are really just going to care about like that. This, like I said, this is like a generation and a half late. You know, this is something, like I said earlier, this is something like 30 years ago, people really would have, like, I think, made a big deal about this. You know what I'm saying? It's like nowadays where you hear about the first Black person to do this, the first Black person to do that. Like the guy whose name is escaping me, who was just confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. More people criticized that than supported it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, it's just like with that whole thing. It's like people don't care about the images anymore. People don't care about the surface level symbolisms.
Well,
give people survival checks. Give people UBI. Okay, then you say, oh yeah, by the way, when you're getting your money, which we all know is electronic, it'll be put into people's bank accounts. They're not going to hand out $20 bills to people. But symbolically speaking, when you get that stimulus check or when you get that survival check, it's going to have a face of Harriet Tubman on it. Okay, but do the tangible thing first before the symbolic thing. That's all I say.
Something symbolic yet substantive. Desmaic followed up saying, "Cash is also becoming obsolete these days. Pass reparations and name the bill the Tubman Act."
Yeah.
The breaking news I referenced earlier is nothing major, but Janet Yellen confirmed as first female Treasury Secretary about a half hour ago. So since we're streaming, we might as well at least acknowledge that news. Definitely a historic first, even if it's the Fed and capitalism and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a historic first. I mean, like Kamala Harris being the VP and like some of the other firsts that we've mentioned. My whole thing is this though. Whether it's Yellen, whether it's Harris, whether it's I can't say the dude, but I should probably pull up his name. I don't have his name in front of me. The Secretary of Defense, all of these guys, like
Lloyd Austin.
Right. What are they doing? It's not enough to be the first of anything. What are they doing that's different from the people who weren't first? The people who were part of the status quo, what are they, or the consistent, racial and gender status quo before they came in and was the first to do what they're doing? What are they doing that's different from them, from the other guys? If the answer to that question is either, okay, well, they're doing something that's, around the edges, or they're doing something that's, or they're not doing anything. Maybe they're making like small changes here and there, but society right now in America demands structural, fundamental change. We don't need Band-Aids. We don't need symbolism. We don't need, heartfelt attempts, good work. We need major change. Okay, this is why I said last week on Friday, Joe Biden can take this country into one of two directions. either he can be a truly transformative president, and I think he has the capability to do that. I'm not going to discount that possibility. He's either going to be an actual truly transformative president, or we're going to go down a darker path, and he's just not, and we're going to get more of the same. And then what happened in 2010 is going to happen in 2022. Republicans are going to take back control of the House. They're eventually going to take back control of the Senate, and then we'll be back in square one once again, where you have a Democratic president and a Republican legislature that's not going to do anything. That's why they need to get rid of the filibuster. Okay. And I mean, it's when it, let's go, let's move this along. That's all I really have to say. I mean, that's all I wanted to cover today. And I hope you guys sort of understand sort of what the theme of today's show was. The theme of today's show was the title of the video, the title of the stream, The Republican Party's Reckoning. It was about the damaging of American democracy, which is still ongoing. Okay. And then of course we also talked about Harriet Tubman being on the $20 bill, talked about it briefly. And it looks like most people are in agreement that like Harmon Span says, Harriet Tubman is a symbol in our American history. If you see something wrong, do what is right. And then Franco says, well, he was talking to someone else in the chat. So yeah, I think from what I've read, everybody's kind of in agreement here. So if there is nothing else, do you guys have any questions for me or for David before we end?
We'll give them a minute to see if they have any input that we can expand on. What's your prediction with the filibuster, Brian? Do you think they're going to get rid of it? Because I mean, if they don't, let every 6 years, every 4 years, every new administration is just going to keep getting bounced. Like, we should do it, but what about the other side? We should do it, but what about when the other side gets back in power? It's just, it almost feels like it's something that they can play with just to toy with the idea and not actually get anything done, which is their game.
You're welcome, Hilton. I wanted to see, they said, thanks, Brian. In terms of like the filibuster, I honestly think it's possible. I do. And I say that mostly because of COVID-19. Because COVID-19 is going to continue raging for the majority of the year. They're saying at least until the fall, but I think it's even going to be past that. They're going to have to do something major. And and their time, I think people's patience is going to wear thin. People are going to give them a few months. People are going to give them a couple months, the first 100 days or something like that. But people aren't going into this summer, into June, July. People aren't going into the summer with just a one-time $1,400 check. Okay. And then nothing on top of it. And then Republicans are still blocking everything in Congress, and people know that they have the ability to get rid of the filibuster. I don't think that's a lie that they're going to be able to maintain for 2 years. Too many people are paying attention. So I'm hopeful that something actually will be done to get rid of it. I'm crossing my fingers, because that's really the only way any of these transformative policies are actually even going to pass, because Republicans are just going to block everything.
I do feel like they might. I think that part of me feels like if Trump hadn't crossed so many lines at the very end, like, let's face it, people that were in his camp or in his corner and supportive of him until the riots. I mean, there's some that were still supportive of him after, but the vast majority started to step away. They're even saying that Mar-a-Lago is losing memberships because he just went too far. If he hadn't done that, I feel like the establishment wouldn't have done it. Wouldn't have felt like they had any motivation to do a whole lot. But at this point, he's threatened them. And when the powerful get threatened, then something actually happens.
Right. I mean, so that's true. And I mean, we'll see what happens. Trump did go extremely far. So the times call for major change. Not only because of Trump, but because of the moment in history we're in right now. And that's all I really have to say about that.
All right. I'm just looking over the chat. There's some people saying thank you and appreciating the information. That's what we're here for. Thank you for tuning in. Ben made the platform, and we're trying to build it out, bring new voices on, and expand the content.
Oh, something else.
Franco's got an issue with my beard. Franco on YouTube. He's made a couple comments. I ignored it at first, but I know it's a pandemic beard, Franco. I agree. I got to clean it up a little bit, but there's a reason why I stay off camera most of the time. But everyone wanted me to come out from the shadows, so
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're gonna be talking, we can't see your name. but yeah, it's something I was about to say. Dang it. It'll come to me. But oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let everybody know about the show. I shared it on Twitter. I mean, I'll be on most days, Monday through Friday, but in most days, I think the 6 o'clock time is a good time because it's a good time in the late afternoon, early evening here on the East Coast, and then you guys on the West Coast, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon for you guys. So I think this is like a good time to do a show. So if we do a live stream Monday through Friday, it is going to be around the same time. It's going to be around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely be on the lookout for that in the coming days and weeks and months. And yeah, just let everybody know. Share the stream because yeah, it's what we are doing is pretty cool, and I want you guys to join us in.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that being said, Infinite Content said he was watching Ben on TYT and didn't know this was going on. We didn't realize that we were overlapping with Ben until we had already started, and then I started to see some notes, and I realized that Ben wasn't done. So it's all right though. The power of the internet is that you can always play an encore either here or over at TYT. So we're not really cutting it. No one's cutting the other off.
And about that too, that because yeah, I heard those comments in the chat too. So, I saw the comments in the chat. If we do change the time, we might bump it up by like an hour, but we will let you guys know ahead of time. Or we might not. We might just keep it where it's at right now because this is what we do, and we have fun talking to you guys. And so, as long as we can talk to you guys, that's all that matters. The time is largely insignificant.
The more content that's gonna, the more people that pop up and the more streamers and everything. There's only 24 hours in a day, right? And really 12 hours during the day. So it's everyone's gonna cut someone off eventually. That being said, are you back on tomorrow? Do you think we'll be doing something tomorrow, or you think we're waiting until Wednesday?
I do have to go out of town tomorrow, so I will keep you posted. If I'm able to make it back on my side of town before it gets too late, I'll let you know. If not tomorrow, then we'll definitely be back on Wednesday for sure.
All right, we're gonna cut it here. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'm gonna go with the outro here. So away we.
All right, y'all be safe, and I'll see y'all later.
Is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.